I'm excited to be here. When we were in the planning stages, when we asked to do this, and I've been in these seminars before, and I know when it's not your career field, this kind of stuff, you got to do it, but it might get boring. So I really wanted to make it engaging and really have something for you all to take away. So a little bit about me. I'm a vice president here at CGI. This July 12th will be my 27th anniversary. I came to work here at CGI Digital 3 months before Google was founded. If you think about that for a second. And I've been in this field and I have watched how Google has evolved, how the end user evolved with it, how businesses evolved with it. And I really wanted to make a presentation that whether this is important to you or you're just doing it for a credit, you will absolutely take something away from this, that it will be engaging and you will learn something from this. Whether you're a dentist or you're a roofer or a dog walker, I'm sure you all know that having a strong digital online presence is no longer a luxury that it was 27 years ago, but it has now become a necessity. And there's several important things that I believe any business owner should know, no matter the field they're in. So when we were creating this, and I wanted it to be impactful, and I wanted everyone to be able to take away important things from this, I developed this from 27 years of selling digital media and online presence coast to coast through the country to just about every single field of business that you could name, from roofers to doctors to eye care centers to cleaning services, just about every business. And there's one thing, and Mike and I were talking about it because he's in the same boat. He's been doing this for over a decade, and he runs into the same thing. There is an enzyme in a human being that it's a DNA strain of somebody that has the drive and gumption to start and build and run a business that is different from everybody else. They all have it. Those people that go, you know what? I'm going to make this and I'm going to start a business and I'm going to build it up and I'm going to run this. You have a different strain of DNA than most people. I'm sure you would all agree with that. However, inside that strain of DNA, there is an enzyme, and I've seen it. And Mike and I we were talking about it before this started. There is something that it doesn't matter the profession you're in, but they all have it, that when you show them this stuff, they go, this is wonderful. I could see this working amazing if you were a pizza shop. But I don't know if you're familiar with my industry. Let me tell you all about the field I'm in and how different it is for everything. So I want you all to know and have an open mind. This has absolutely nothing to do with a specific industry. The industry doesn't matter. This is all human behavior. And so have an open mind. You don't have to be an internet guru or a wizard of some sort. You just have to think about how you do things in your regular life. You're all professions in the dental field. You're all professionals, but you're also regular people and you're consumers and you buy things and you do things just like everyone on earth. So that was the theme going into this. I wanted it to be interesting, but I also want you all to have a real strong takeaway about you are all going to have to do this. Whether you do it in-house, you do it yourself, or you pay somebody, this is all a necessity in today's world of business. So I want to open up with a couple of stories. I'm going to tell you 3 stories that were impactful to me that I know about, and I believe everyone will take something away. And they follow, I'm not just telling stories, they follow a specific theme of where we're going with this, right? Back in the olden days when I came to work here, and I take you back on a little trip down memory lane, right? 30 years ago and before, it was very simple if you had a local business in any town in the country. It was very, very simple. You leased a building or built a building, you got an office, you put it in there, you hired a receptionist, you got all the tools, you did all these things, and all you had to do was put an ad in the yellow pages. You didn't have to hire an in-house person to run your ad. The guy would come around every year and you put an ad in the yellow pages. Anybody that needed anything, a doctor, a dentist, a roofer, a plumber, they went to the yellow pages and they looked under whatever they were looking for, found what they were looking for, and made the phone call. It was very, very simple. The yellow pages were around for 100 years. 100 years, 1908 till they went away. But they were out and they were the way to do things for 100 years. And it worked great. It worked so great it lasted 100 years. Why fix what's not broken? Why not just keep the yellow page book? It was very simple. Everyone knew how it worked and everyone knew what to do, right? Then the internet came out. And it became not only easier and quicker and simpler to get that information, but it was more accurate because it could be updated real time, where the book came out once a year. And if you missed it, you were not in it until they printed a new one the following year. So to get all the information you need, you could find everything, no matter if it was brand new yesterday, it was instant because they could do it real time, and it was quicker, it was better, and it was more accurate. And therefore, it is human behavior that when something is simpler and quicker and better, everyone will gravitate to that. You see here down the bottom of this slide, Google was formally incorporated in 1998. That was 3 months before I started working here. And 2 years later, 2 years, users were searching on Google 200 million times a day. Technology is quick, and the evolution of it is even quicker. And it's always something new coming out. And then it's hard as a business owner to decide, well, this thing looks good. Should I do that? Or should I do this? Or I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a dentist and I really don't know this field. So it becomes overwhelming. It wasn't simple like the yellow pages. However, if you know this or study this stuff, it does seem overwhelming, but it is really quite simple when you understand human behavior and how Google works. And that's what I hope to go over. But I'm going to start with a couple of stories here, you guys. Some of them you may know, right? And I'm telling these stories not just because I like telling stories, although I don't mind it, but I'm telling these for a reason, because the number one predictor of a person's behavior is their future behavior. It's the easiest predictor. This applies to every relationship you have in your life, every family member, every coworker, every friend, every acquaintance. It is the same. You can fairly accurately predict what a person is going to do if you have known how they've always done things. Example, if you have a coworker or a family member or a friend that every time they're given a task, they complete it to the highest interpretation. So when you hand them something, you can sleep like a baby knowing they're going to get it done. And vice versa, if you know someone that muddles through things and procrastinates and then bungles it in the end, and you give them a task, you don't have to be Nostradamus to go, oh, I got to stay on top of them, they're probably going to get it, right? But if you are basing things based on, well, things have always progressed this way, why would it be any different in the future, right? So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories that will indicate if you saw this now, if you had a time machine and could go back, you could start to see a pattern where you can make fairly accurate predictions, okay? All of you in this room, I don't know, I can't see any of you, so I don't know how old or how young or if you know this, but I bet if you ask each other and if you ask anyone you know, do you know who Jeff Bezos is? Everyone will say, of course. And then you say, do you know the story of how he got started? And most believe they do, and they go, yes, he started an online bookstore, which is partially true. But when Jeff Bezos started Amazon out of his garage, most people believe that he was selling New York Times bestsellers and all kinds of books out of there. And that is not true. When he originally started it, It was very specific, highly collectible books, like first editions of Oliver Twist or Little Women or Leaves of Grass, or these highly collectible books. He wasn't selling Verity and whatever the popular books are now, but they were highly collectible books. And nobody cared and nobody paid attention. And he was selling them like crazy because all the book nerds go, wow, I can find these wonderful, highly collectible. I like books too. And he was doing great and he was making money. And he's a smart guy, whether you like him or not, he's a smart guy. And he said, you know what? I think I could sell every book, not just these highly collectible books. I could sell every single book that gets published. And I don't need to have a bookstore. I can sell it all online. And I think people would really like that they don't even have to leave their house and they can come on and order any book they want. And I think it's a really great idea. It's working well for the collectible books. Let me give this a shot and see how it goes. And he did it. And nobody cared. Nobody except Books A Million, Barnes and Noble, Borders Bookstore, all the big ones, and every mom and pop bookstore in the country on Main Street. Oh, this Bezos, he's really killing us. I don't like this. This is terrible. And he's making a fortune doing this, selling books. And everybody that was alive and remembers this, he started to be, people knew his name, and he was a big up and comer in the internet world. And he said, you know what? I was killing it with the collectible books. And now I'm really crushing it with every book. But I really think people would buy everything from this. I think they'd buy toothpaste from here. I think they'd buy electronics from here. By God, I think they'd even buy clothes from here. They'll buy hats and dresses and shoes and pants. And I think it's going to be a great thing. But I'm a computer nerd who loves books, and I don't know the first thing about retail and department stores or anything. I don't know anything about this. But I am a smart guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go directly to the experts who know this. In fact, I'm going to go to the people that invented the department store of Sears and Roebuck. And I don't know if any of you know this. This was in a book I read a long time ago. It was called 101 of the Biggest Business Blunders of All Time. And he went to Sears. He went to the Walton family from Walmart. He went to J.C. Penney, and he went to Macy's. We can all agree that those are, if you're going to talk about retail sales and department stores, there's no bigger expert in their field. No one knows it better than Sears, who invented it, certainly Walmart, who changed the game, and J.C. Penney and Macy's, right? So he goes in, he didn't go into a big meeting room with all of them. He first went to Sears. But they all, every one of them in separate meetings, told him nearly the same thing. And you know what it was? Yeah, I could see this is how great it is for books, but let me tell you about my industry. I don't know if you're familiar with the retail industry. This is great for what you're doing, but my industry is different. I don't know if you ever put any thought to this, but I will tell you something, young man. There's no human being that would ever buy a pair of pants without trying them on first. Are you crazy? Who in this world would ever buy a pair of shoes without walking in them? Yeah, that's ridiculous. But thank you for coming in. Good day, sir. They all told him that. The same variation. No one will ever buy pants without trying them on. No one will ever buy clothes without making sure they fit first. And no one will ever buy shoes without walking in them first. And he left. And then guess what he did to them? He crushed them. And if you don't believe me, I don't know where you live or what town you're in, but go to what used to be your Sears in your town, and I'll show you a pile of rubble. And if you go to the mall in your town, where the end cap stores were J.C. Penney and Macy's and every mall in America, and I'll take you there and I'll show you a stain on the wall that used to say Macy's. You can still see the stain, but over it, you see a new sign that says Louis Trampoline Park, fun for the whole family. He crushed them because it's not about an industry and what the experts know. It is about human behavior. And if you make something simpler and you make it easier and you make it better, they will do it. And it has nothing to do with an industry. I have a slide here, and I've been talking to this story For years, literally for years, I've been talking about that story of what Jeff Bezos, how he changed retail. This is my Macy's at the Grease Ridge Mall, right near my house. This is 3 weeks ago. My buddy is driving by, who I've told this story to, and took a photo of them removing the Macy's sign from the Grease Ridge Mall 3 weeks ago. It changed, and the experts never saw it coming. Do you understand that? The experts of that field never saw it coming, and they couldn't even imagine it happening until it happened. Now, I'm going to tell you, and you all know this story, because I don't know how, again, I don't know, I can't see any of you, so I don't know how old you are, but I'm old. And I remember this. And I remember Friday nights and Saturday nights going with who's my wife now, was my girlfriend. It was a staple of the weekend to browse the store, of walking through and looking at what movies are there and getting ready to bring home a couple of movies to watch on a Friday or Saturday night. Everybody that's my age or older remembers Blockbuster. But it's a story that most people do not know. You can Google it. There's even a video about it. I've watched it. At this time, and I remember, I was one of the early adapters. I'm a big movie guy, but Netflix came out online, and you could go online, and they would ship you the DVDs in this envelope. There's a whole nother story I could go into and talk about for another hour of how they patented that envelope that the videos used to come in, that was light enough to ship for an affordable rate, but it was strong enough that the DVD wouldn't get damaged and they'd have to replace them. And they went through like 20 different versions before they got it, which is one of the real secrets of how they ended up doing what they did to Blockbuster. But early on, Netflix went to Blockbuster. The two guys from Netflix went to Blockbuster, and they wanted to sell Netflix to Blockbuster. You're not going to believe the amount of money they wanted. $1 million. That's what they were asking Blockbuster, for $1 million. And the owners tell the story of it, what happened. The Blockbuster people, they didn't have to be mean to them about it. They were trying to pitch their idea. We'll sell you this for $1 million. I think people don't want to leave their home. They just want to have the videos come to them. We're working on a thing where you can actually stream it, and you don't even have to wait for the DVD. And we'd like to sell it to you for $1 million. And again, Blockbuster didn't have to be mean, but this is how the owners of Netflix described it. Said the head guy at Blockbuster leaned across the table and he said, "What do we need you for?" And they go, "Okay." And they left. Less than 1 calendar year. 1 calendar year, Blockbuster's crumbling. They called Netflix for a meeting. And the two Netflix guys show up there, and they offered them an outlandish amount of money. Hundreds of millions of dollars. And the two Netflix guys leaned across the table and they said, "What do we need you for?" And I think it's beautiful. I love that story because, again, the Blockbuster guy didn't have to be mean to them. They could say, "I don't think it's a fit." But the fact that they were mean and insulting, that he got to serve him a little humble pie in the end. Again, the whole purpose, and I hope you're seeing a theme, Blockbuster was the king of that industry. There was nobody bigger. And they never thought it would end. And they couldn't imagine anything replacing it. They just couldn't see it because they weren't looking. You're going to see a theme with this. I don't know if any of you have been to Disneyland and Disney World in Florida. And in 2008, Disney was working on the biggest addition to the theme park. I don't know if you've been in a while, but this was 2008. They were going to launch the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Now, this is Disney. They have unlimited pockets. They have unlimited budgets. They have all the accessibility to Madison Avenue PR and promotional stuff. And they had a thing where they were sending out bids. What are you going to do? How do you plan on doing this? Is a big deal for us, and we want it to be spectacular, and we want it to be amazing. And all of the traditional people back in 2008, all the traditional medicine have PR and promotional things. They all had a very similar pitch. They go, well, first thing we're going to do, we're going to take out full page ads in every newspaper in the country. LA Times, Chicago Tribune, Boston Globe, New York Times. We're going to have full page ads all about Wizarding World of Harry Potter. We're going to do radio commercials all over the place. We're going to do television commercials. And the budget, it's going to be blah, 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 whatever the amount of money. They all had very similar pitch, except for this one girl. She was in her 20s, named Cindy Gordon, and she thought differently. And they said, what are you going to do? What is your pitch? How are you going to promote this? And she said, I'm going to tell 7 people. And everybody in the room was like, what? I'm going to tell 7 people. What are you talking about? Right now, today, in the world, there are 7 top bloggers that have audiences of raving fans of Harry Potter. And what I plan to do is I am going to send them a golden scroll of a secret unveiling at midnight that they are invited to, and I'm going to debut to them the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And they picked her, she did it. And in less than 24 hours, 350 million Harry Potter fans knew about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And it was beyond what they ever expected. It was a huge smash success. And I hope you're seeing the theme here. You have it so good or you're so big, it'll never end. The second you think you have made it, you are automatically in decline. And the theme of what I'm going to show you and explain to you here is you're all going to have to do this. Whether, like I said, whether you do it in-house or whether you hire somebody, outsource somebody, this stuff is extremely important. Whatever the line of business you're in business world today, your online presence is supremely important. We refer to it as our company, and we've referred this to a long time, as your critical second location. You have your brick and mortar business, that's in the real world on Main Street or wherever your brick and mortar business. But your second location is critical because just think of how you do things. Long before anyone ever walks through your doors and shakes your hand and schedules an appointment, long before they ever pick up a phone to call you and ask questions and schedule an appointment, they will have gone to your website first. So there's a theme behind how important this first impression is. And you're going to see as we go on in our presentation, if you change the way you're thinking, because everybody thinks I have a website, it's an information source to all who need it. I have a website, it's an ad on the World Wide Web, I'm good. But if you change the way you've been thinking about a website and truly think of a website as your second critical location, there are things you would absolutely do, and there are things you would stop doing tomorrow when you change your way of thinking about what a website is. Now, what we're going to be covering here today, SEO. I'm sure you are all familiar with SEO, search engine optimization. What is it? And how is it beneficial? We're going to cover this. AEO. I don't know if you're sitting there watching this or if you're asleep or whatever, but if you have a pen and pencil, write down AEO. Google it, research it, find everything you can about it. I will bet my life, I don't know how many of you are in this room or how many are listening to this thing, but I will bet my life not a single one of you ever heard of it, and none of you know what it is. And if you have a web guy or a marketing specialist, if they're in-house, I'm going to ask you to do this. If they're away and you're on a Zoom call, say, I want to ask you a question. if it's via Zoom or in person, say, let me see your hands so you're not cheating. I don't want you to Google this. Explain to me what AEO is. And I don't care how long they've been doing this or how good they are or how masterful they are. None of them will know what it is. And I'll make bets on it. It is brand new, and people I know that are in this industry for decades are just learning about it. And it is going to be big. This is the biggest change to Google's algorithm since the inception. You don't know me, and I could ramble on about stuff and go, well, what does this guy know? Just do some Google search and look what Google is spending to prepare for this. And the fact that they're giving Reddit $60 million a year just to train their AI bot, which is called Gemini. It's kind of like ChatGPT, if you don't know what it is. It's Gemini. They implemented it into Google this year, and it is going to change the face of search in every single way possible. SEO is still hugely important, but this is going to change it. Pay attention to it, know about it, because it is going to be a game changer for local businesses. Now, one of the things when Mike and I were preparing and kind of kicking around ideas of the impact we want to have so that you really take things away and learn something, whether you're doing it yourself in-house or you have somebody in office, or whether you're going to interview people that you could pay them to do it third party. It's important to know this stuff, okay? I didn't want to bore you all with internet nerd talk and algorithms and things like that. However, just like you're going to ask your expert that you know, or people that know this kind of stuff, or if you have somebody that works for you, ask them if they know what EAT is, E-E-A-T, and most won't. Some do. I've run into somebody that did, but 9 out of 10 never heard of it and couldn't explain it. And these are people in the industry. It is the heart. It is the soul. It is the brain as to how Google delivers information. It's pretty important. If you're going to be paying to show up on Google and do all of these things, you should understand how and why it delivers information the way it does. So most people, if you ask, what does Google do? Oh, they're making money hand over fist selling ads, and they're doing whatever they're doing. But all part of it. But what Google is, they are in the information business. From the day they open the doors to current, they are in the information business. I'm sure we all use Google. I think it's like 98% of the population uses Google. It's a go-to search engine. They use it for all different things, and they use it for everything, right? Google is in the information business. Well, what does that mean? When you need information and you went to Google and you type it in, it is in their core DNA to provide the most credible, trusted information. That's it. Now, why is this important? Because think of you as an end user of Google. If every time you went to Google and did a search, you got garbage that you didn't care about, or it was wrong information and it wasn't true, and every time you did, maybe you'd go back a second, maybe a third, but if they kept providing you garbage, it wouldn't be long before you went, oh, I'm done with Google, and going over to Bing or Yahoo or whoever else. But you would quit if you didn't have accurate, credible, trustworthy information. Is that true if you think of it that way? Google's EAT model, it stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. You all that are dentists and you've been doing this field or in the dental field, whatever you're doing, you have experience and you have expertise in the real world. You even have authority, depending on how long you've been doing it and where you went to school and what your diplomas say and any continuing education. You develop authority, and people in the community go, oh, this person is a wonderful person and they're a wonderful dentist. And therefore, because they're authoritative, I trust what they're going to tell me, right? That's in the real world. Google is not a human. There isn't a person reading every inquiry and switching levers. It is an algorithm. It is a bot that is scanning billions of data per second and delivering a result. And how they deliver the results are based on experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And if it's not a human that doesn't know you, where do you develop the authority online? This is one of the most difficult things for any business. How am I going to get that authority online? There's ways, and we know how to do that, but that is critical because if the easiest way I can explain this, and again, I can't see any of you, I don't know how old you are, and I'm older, right? When you're growing up and your parents used to say, you are who your friends are. You are the company you keep. I don't want you running with that crowd. That's bad news. You remember that? Or if you think of it this way, you are the company keep. If you knew people in your community, say 5 people that you knew that were kind, upstanding, trustworthy, credible people, and you knew it because you've known them for years, and they are all of those wonderful qualities. And then there was a stranger that you never seen, a 6th person, but he was with them, or he or she was with them that you know are credible, you would automatically assume that person must be as good as them or it wouldn't be with. And vice versa. If you saw 5 ruffians that you knew were scallywags, even if you didn't know the 6th person, you go, oh, that person's probably bad news. Well, Google's algorithm works very similar. It repels certain things and it promotes certain things based on authority and trust. And I don't want to beat a dead horse about this and bore you all about algorithms, but write that down. EEAT, make a note to Google and find everything you can out about it. Because when that next person who says, hey, Dr. So-and-so, I'd like to handle your SEO, and for a tiny sum of money, I will do these wonderful things. These are things that they should know about when you're interviewing them, whether you're going to hire them or not. They should know these. These are above basic things, but we're going to get into the basic similar things, I mean, the simple things that are SEO 101 that anybody in the field should be on top of and understand these critical things, such as how to improve your SEO strategies. We're going to cover that. And we're going to talk about the benefits to you as a business of utilizing SEO and AEO and doing it effectively. Now, SEO. I'm sure it's been talked about and beaten, and you get a million phone calls at your dental practice. Hi, would you like me as the doctor there? Let me, I want to help you with your SEO. I'm good. SEO, right? It is important. It is hugely important. If you don't know, and again, I don't want to, I think most people do, but it stands for search engine optimization. And it really is beneficial because nobody can convince me of this thing that I've known for since the inception of Google, where there used to be other options and similar things, but advertising that I grew up with will never, ever, ever work again. You could do every radio commercial in the world. You could do every television commercial in the world. You could do every billboard. I promise you, nobody cares until they need a dentist. And we live in a world that if you need something, you Google it. And no one can convince me otherwise. Even when you're all sitting in the crowd there, I don't know what you're doing, and you go, well, you don't know about me. I'm 99.9% word of mouth. I'm amazing. And word of mouth. Word of mouth is different because when that person who loves you and thinks you are the greatest dentist and goes, you got to go to my dentist, Dr. Jones is unbelievable. They're the greatest. How many of your most loyal, best patients are walking around living their life with your phone number memorized? They're going to go, you should go to Dr. Jones over there in Webster, New York, right in our town. They're amazing. And that person is going to pull out their phone and Google Dr. Jones Webster and go, this doctor? Yes, that is the world we live in. Even when you get a referral through word of mouth, they're going to Google you. And trust me, they're going to read your reviews and they're going to do a little due diligence. And it doesn't matter if it's their brother, sister, best friend, co-worker. If they don't see what they want to see, they're not going to call you, no matter who referred. If they saw a review that said, this guy broke all my teeth out, I'm afraid to go to the dentist for the rest of my life, 1 star, and somebody sees that, they're not calling you no matter who referred. That is the world we live in now, right? So I want to explain search engine optimization in a very simple terms. If you believe that we live in a world that when you need something, you Google it, as a medical professional or a dentist, sit down and write a list of all the services you provide. Of course, they know you're a dentist. Do you do teeth whitening? Do you do cosmetic dentistry? Do you do orthodontics? Do you do Invisalign? Whatever these services are that you provide in your community, you should show up in the top, at least in the top 3, when somebody types in Invisalign, Pasadena, California, wherever you are. I don't know where all of your offices are. But when somebody searches for your services in your community, you should show up there. If you don't, something is wrong. And if the person that you're paying to do this goes, well, you come up number 1 under dentist, great, that's wonderful. I wouldn't complain about that. That is good because people are going to search dentists, whatever town, USA, or dentists near me, and that's big. But you have other services, and it should cost no different to come up under all of, if you have somebody that's good and knows what they're doing, you should come up under dentist, Invisalign, teeth whitening, cosmetic dentistry, whatever you're doing. If you search that plus the town you're in and you're not showing up, you should fix that or find somebody to. And the benefits aren't like running an ad and go, I think it worked. The benefits and the impact of this is enormous, more than you can imagine. And I'm not saying that just to say things, because when I sit down with my clients, every single quarter, they're telling me, oh my God, I don't know what you're doing. I don't care what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. They don't want to get in the weeds about me explaining how we're doing, but they just want the results. This is an important part of SEO. Whatever the service you provide, plus the town you're in, and hit search, you got to be there. Now that you're there, let's say you did that and you got there. That's part of it, right? That's part of it. Getting there, you now have to have a high rating and review. So this is something you can all simply do, or a receptionist can do, or somebody in your office can simply say, thanks for coming in. We'll see you in 6 months. Can you do me a great favor? Can you please go online and write us a review about your visit? It really helps us with our SEO and it helps the business. Something that simple. But there are also companies that do reputation management. If you got bad reviews or a complaining patient that you just can't please, no matter how hard you try and bend over, we've all experienced that. You just can't win, no matter how hard you try, and they're still going to be on there going, oh, you made me wait 6 hours for my appointment, and I hate you, 1 star. You're going to run into that. But there are services that do reputation management to clean up. Now, they don't do, and if they're going to do illegal things, such as astroturfing, which is making up fake reviews, that is illegal. Don't do that. But there are services that can help you to get real reviews from those people that want to. Because I promise you this, I have a dentist. I like the guy. His name is Dr. Terry O'Keefe. My whole family goes there. He's a nice guy. I see him in the community, and he's a good guy. And I tell everybody, you got to go to Dr. O'Keefe. He's a nice guy. He's funny, and he's a good dentist, right? But the thing about your patients generally want to write good review. And when you ask them, if you ask 100, maybe 1 or 2 might do it, because it's not as easy as you think that you just click write a review and type up a nice review and hit enter and there you go, it's done. No. If you're not a Gmail user or registered through Google, it's going to say, please enter your name, please enter your address, enter your cell phone number here. And that's the question that makes everybody go, oh, forget it. I'm just going to tell everybody how good Dr. Jones is. I'm not giving Google my phone number. Get out of here. That's why you tend to see more negative than positive, because when somebody's angry or feels they've been mistreated, they will go through fire. You want my name? Good. You want my phone number? Great. I'm going to tell everyone you're a terrible monster. There. But there are ways to, and you should maintain a high rating with quality reviews and current, that it's never ending. You don't do it once and go, I got 25, I'm good, because 6 months from now, and people go, well, this guy hasn't been, this person hasn't been reviewed in 6 months, a year. It is something that you constantly have to be on. Now, we're on this slide, AEO, and you're seeing it and you're reading about it. I told you all to write it down and to Google it on your own and really learn about this, because I am telling you, this is the future of local search. And I don't want to overhype it. Like I said, you don't know me. You're meeting me in a webinar for the first time 20 minutes ago or whatever, right? So if you don't believe me, when you Google, just Google things like, what has Google, how much money has Google spent on AI and AEO year to date or whatever, and you can see the amount of resources they are putting in, and that should tell you all, if Google is putting this kind of money, resources, and effort into it, they're doing it for a reason, because it is the future of search. Not what some guy at a dental webinar told you. It's Google. And Mikey and I were talking about this earlier, that I don't think a lot of people think of this. Google is the only business in the history of business, of every business since the beginning of the first business to current day. Google has something that no other business has ever had, ever. Typically, Apple, big businesses, Apple Computer or Microsoft, and every other business, even a local roofer or a maybe your dental office, you have the owner, the main dentist says, you know what? I've been thinking long and I've been thinking hard, and I'm the owner. And you call in your key people, the smartest people in your organization. And the owner says, I've been thinking, and I want to run something by you because I know you're all smart and you're all part of the team, but I've been hearing all kinds of wonderful things. I think we should get into this teeth whitening business or Invisalign or whatever thing that you come up with. And I really think it'll be a hit for us. What do you think? And they go, yeah, I think that's good. Let's do it. And so you all go, yes, we agree. We're going to start doing these things. And then you do them and you hope and you pray that the customers want it and use it. And then you go, great, that was a great idea. It worked. Apple, everyone had a flip phone. And Steve Jobs said, you know what? I have an idea of a touchscreen thing that you can access everything in the world and all the information. You can play every song in the world. You can do all this stuff. And I think people would love this. And everybody in the meeting room went, I think you're onto something. I think they would. And then they made it. And then they hoped and prayed that everybody thought it was a great idea as they did. And every business does that. The smartest guy, the research and development, they come up with an idea. They take votes and go, should we do this? And let's do it. And then they hope. Google does not work that way. The reason they don't work that way is because they have something no other business on earth has. They can see every single search that you type in every minute of your life, every second of the day, and they can see every search that's done worldwide. And when they see that people are looking for a certain thing, and I'll give you an example. 17 years ago, when you did a search, there was no map and there were no ratings and there were no reviews. Today, you could do it for every industry on earth. And I'm going to tell you because I lived through this. We, CGI Digital, we entered into a partnership with Google in 2005. They wanted all of our video content. Keep in mind, at this time, YouTube didn't exist. YouTube wasn't founded for another year. We had 6,000 community video tour books, 90,000 local business videos. Google wanted it, we gave it to them. Over $40 million worth of video content. In exchange, they gave us some big things in return. But because of this partnership, we started to see immediately that we were privy to certain strategic practices Google has in place, and we were privy to certain changes long, long before any Main Street business will ever even know about it. So back at this time, and if I don't want to bore you with the history of Google, but I'm going to tell you what happened. 17 years ago, you went to Google one time and there were only two industries that had a rating and review. Two. I'll tell you what they were if you can't guess. Restaurants and hotels. Those were the first two. And the reason they were the first two, because restaurants and hotels got ratings and reviews 100 years ago before the internet existed. That people know it's a 5-star hotel. Oh, this is a Michelin star restaurant. This is a great reviews from Michelin, right? It's the industry of hotels and restaurants have been around since before the internet. Do we all understand that? But until Google did it, there was no rating and reviews for a plumber anywhere. There was no ratings and reviews for a dentist. There was no rating and reviews for a roofer. And now, today, they are everywhere. And it is not some cockamamie idea somebody came up with in a boardroom at Google headquarters. They could see what people want. And they go, geez, everybody's typing in plumber reviews. Plumber reviews. The people want to see reviews on plumber. So therefore, they moved it to the top. They didn't put it to the top of the search because everyone hated it and nobody wanted it. And if they did move it to the top and everybody hated it and nobody wanted it, I promise you this, they would have got rid of it in 24 hours. So you have to understand when Google is making a decision, it is not off some idea that some guy had in the boardroom. It's because they know what people are looking for. So why I'm explaining this to you all, and I'm very, very passionate about this, because this is the Wild West right now. This is brand new. It is brand new January 1. Google implemented AI into the search. Searches look different this year. It's their AI. It's called Gemini. They spent hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to develop this. They're still paying money to Reddit, $60 million a year just to train their AI bots, because they believe it's the future of search. Now, what is it? Everybody knows SEO, search engine optimization. AEO is answer engine optimization. I am going to tell a quick story. It's a true story. I don't know. I can't see any of your faces, but I am alive today, and I'm just a regular person. And I don't know how many of you watched the TV series Severance and lost your mind at Severance, and the whole country was that. And if you watch Jimmy Kimmel and Conan and all these shows, they have the whole cast. Everybody's losing their mind for Severance. Well, I'm going to tell you, this is a true story. That show came out 2 years ago. 2 years ago, it was recommended to me, and my wife and I sat down, and there was no hype or hoopla. Somebody told us to watch it. Like, you want to try it? Yeah, let's watch it. So we sit down, and we made it through one single episode. And when that first episode ended, we looked at each other and we went, what the heck was that? What did we just, we couldn't even figure out what the hell was going on and what happened. And we were like, and we never watched another episode. Fast forward to current times, the new season comes out, everybody's talking about it, everybody's going crazy. So we go, well, maybe it was us. Maybe we were in a wrong state of mind, but everybody seems to be losing their mind and loving this. We should give it another try. So we sit down, we watch episode 1 again, we watch episode 2, and there's some pretty famous people. If you haven't watched it, like right out of the gate, I see John Turturro. I love him. I'm a big fan of The Big Lebowski. I go, oh my God, that's Jesus. That's John Turturro there. But if you haven't seen it, he's walking down the hall, and we see this actor that everybody knows. He is a famous guy. So famous, I'm embarrassed to tell you that neither my wife and I could think of his name. We're like, oh my God, there he is. That's, what's his name? It's, you know him. He's in everything. He's a big guy. He's a big star. And my wife grabs her phone, and she goes, who is the actor that does more cowbell? And Google came back with the answer. It's Christopher Walken. If you remember, I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell. It was Christopher. Oh, how could we not think Christopher Walken? My point of this is just using yourself. How often do you just grab your phone and ask Google a question? It's all the time. Everybody. It's People do it. It is part of our life now. Whether you're trying to win a bet, I was playing golf in Florida with my buddies on last Monday and Tuesday, and we were having an argument about what was the last major league team that Babe Ruth played for. I am a lifelong Red Sox fan. I would have bet you my life on that time. He retired a New York Yankee. And one of the guys took his phone out and said, what was the last major league team Babe Ruth played for? And we were all wrong. It was the Boston Braves. He left the Yankees and went to the Boston Braves, which then became the Atlanta Braves. But he went to the Boston Braves. But my point is, when you can ask Google a question and get an answer, much, much different than SEO, because I know what SEO costs, and people are paying anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a month just to come up in a list, and they're happy to do it just because they're on the first page, and they're going to pay to be in that list with all their competitors. And they think, yeah, that's fine. So if you're in the 3-pack, there's a 33.33% chance they're going to choose you, and you're happy with that. So I encourage you all to do this when you're at your office. You could type it in, or you could do voice activated. It all works the same. But I'm going to encourage you all, if you are a dentist in any town USA, that you do a search and say, who is the most trusted dentist in my town? And if the answer isn't you, you got to find a way to make it you. And if you don't know how to do it, there's only one company on earth that knows how to do it. Two, actually. Google the other one. Google is the other one that knows how to do it. But I'm telling you, AEO is the future. It is the future of search. Remember, I said that. Mike and I said that. SEO versus AEO, I've kind of covered this. SEO, as you know, you're paying just to come up in a list. Now, that list is important for this reason, because when that list comes up, even if you're not number one, even if you're 3 and you have a better rating and better reviews, you're usually going to win, because people will typically look at those 3 and they'll start with the highest rated. They'll read reviews, and if they feel confident and they go, all right, I think I trust this person, you're going to win out, right? So it is extremely important. AEO makes you the answer. Just you. It gives one answer. Now, because this is so new, when you do this in a community or in a town or a city, you do it in a city that there is no clear answer. Everybody's doing the same stuff. And you say, who is the most trusted, or who is the best dentist in Albuquerque, New Mexico? And you do that search, because there's no clear standout, it will say this. The best, and they'll have the best in quotation, is very subjective, but here is a list of several dentists, and it'll give a list of all of them. But when there is a clear standout who has something the others don't, it gives one simple answer. This is the expert. This is the most trusted. One answer. Look into it. SEO is still important, because you have to have strong SEO for even to be considered to be the AEO answer. Does that make sense? If you show up on page 18 and no one can find you, you don't have a website, and all your information and your NAP scores discombobulated, AEO is never going to work for you. You have to have 2 to even be considered in the AEO. You have to have both done. Does that make sense to everybody? I wish I could see your faces, because this is new stuff. That's why AEO matters, because even though Google's changing, this is the AI overview you see here on the screen. And to become that, you need to deeply understand how Google works and all the things you need to do to become that industry expert. Whether you're a dentist or a roofer or a liquor store or any type of business, if there was a way that when your community thinks of the expert, would you want it to be you in your field? That's how you have to think of this. Eat is the key to AEO. All of you, I'm sure, are professionals and you have experience and expertise. The hardest thing to do, and you can Google this, It's the hardest part to establish yourself as the expert, because you could tell everybody and shout it from the rooftops, I'm the best, I'm the smartest, I'm the most compassionate, I'm the most trustworthy. It's having that authority vouch for you that makes the magic here. And that authoritativeness is the key to becoming the industry expert in AEO. And when you get all those things, that's where the trustworthy. And then I'm sure you know this being in the dental field, but when they ask 100 different people, like Family Feud, 100 people surveyed, what is the biggest factor considering when choosing a dentist? And the number one answer is trust. Is they want to trust you. And I'm sure you all know that, but it's just funny that the last part of this is trustworthiness, and it pertains well, because other fields don't. Trust is important in any transaction, but for some reason, it's most important in anything health and medical. Again, this is a recap for you all. This is a very simple thing that costs you next to nothing, is to simply ask your patients, hey, you had a great visit, your teeth look great. Thank you for coming in. Can you do us a favor? You on Google, can you just write us a review on Google? It really helps our online presence, and it'd be really awesome if you did that for us. Just something simple like that. They're going to do it. They want to do it, especially if you ask them nicely. The chances of them doing it. Say, do you have your phone with you? Do it right here. Because then it's even more simple, because if they do it from their phone, they don't have to enter all their information. Google knows this is a real person because it's attached to this IP address with this phone number, and it can't be faked. So it's much simpler if you have them do it from their phone while they're there. There's a little tip. Now, these are all things when you read up on the internet and what makes you show up and how does Google algorithm, and they are all true. Blogs are important. Writing information, it's called philanthropic information. Just giving information to your community through a blog on tooth care or tooth whitening, and giving it for free. You can come here and learn all about how to whiten your teeth or whatever, just philanthropic information from the field that you are an expert in. Videos, if you don't know this, if you have a website that's static pictures, a website with video will Google higher than one without. And I just want to take a minute here to explain this, because this is something that I don't think most businesses, and again, it doesn't matter if you're a dentist or a roofer or whatever you do, but I want you to understand this. The internet came out roughly 25, 26 years ago, where it started getting big and businesses started having websites. 26 years ago, when the first businesses said, you know what, this internet thing's really something. I think it's important. I'm going to have a website for my business. They created a website that consisted of photographs and text 26 years ago. And the reason they did photographs and text was very, very simple. Everyone back then was on dial-up, and the bandwidth could only hold. And back then, you'd click your website and it downloaded slow and then filled in, and there you had pictures and text to read. Today, 26, 27 years later, the business's website have changed very little. They are still text and photos. Yes, some have video, but the majority, look at yours, look at all your competitors, look at other businesses in your community. It is text and photos. It's a digital brochure. Even though they're still using text and photos back like we used to when they're on dial-up. And today, every human being alive, old and young, has 5G in their pocket and can live stream anything real time. Yet businesses are still back in the historical text and photo. Yes, they advance and they look better and they look brighter, but they're still text and photo. However, if you think about this, the way people do things socially and recreationally is typically 5 to 10 years ahead of how businesses do things on their websites. I'll give you an example. Facebook came out. It was for college students. You had to have an EDU. email address to even sign up. You had to be a college student. No one else could do it. And then the whole world did it. And every college kid worldwide, if you watch the movie The Social Network, they're in Brazil and they're in London and everybody loves it. And the guy's getting rich and everybody loves Facebook. So they said, you know what? I think everyone would love this. And it was like 2007 or 2008, I think 2007. They opened it up to everybody and anybody could get on it. And guess what? Everybody did. My mother, my grandmother, me, every kid I was in third grade with is connecting with me. Everybody did it. It was out for 10 years before somebody said, you know what, I'm on this. Everyone I know is on it. My mother's on it. My grandmother's on it. Every kid I went to third grade is connected with me on this. We should do a Facebook page for our business. And then somebody did it and then everybody did. But it was out for 10 years. Look it up. 10 years. The way business websites are typically 5 to 10 years between how people do things socially and recreational. Listen, there's a reason that the #1 website in the world before COVID was YouTube. It was #1. COVID hit and a company out of China comes from out of nowhere that no one ever heard of called TikTok, and it became the #1 website. To this day, it's the #1 website in the world. YouTube panics and goes, how did we become #2? So they switched to YouTube Shorts. 10 to 15 second, engaging, informative, entertaining video content. That is how people want to consume information today, and you should be doing it if you're a business. And if you're not, you're missing out. That's my advice for that, because I know you all want to learn about social media and things like that. If you're going to do social media, don't do it just to do it. You have to do it correctly or don't bother doing it. That's my professional opinion. Now, I'm getting close to the end here, but I want to explain to all of you, because most people, when you're starting a business, you go, hey, I got a business, I got all the tools I need, I got a staff to do it, and I have I'm ready to open the doors, and I also have a website. And you put thousands of dollars into developing a website, or you go, oh, my cousin, sister's brother's kid knows how to do it. He did it for me for a few dollars. But anyway, you get a website. I'm going to tell you, spending money on a website before taking care of your online footprint, your Google My Business page, Yahoo, Bing, and all your citations, put money into that first. And I'll explain to you why. Because if your Google My Business page is a mess and your NAP score is off, if you don't know what a NAP score is, it stands for name, address, phone number, because even though Google's Google and Yahoo's Yahoo and Bing's Bing and Yelp is Yelp and all of them, Google connects through all of them, because every one of those pages has a page similar to your Google My Business page. They call it an app score because it stands for name, address, phone number. But if everything is not uniform across 100 and something citations, down to the comma in your address, if it's wrong, Google will repel you in fear that they're going to put outdated or wrong or obsolete information. So that this is important. So if I were to open a business tomorrow, whether I was a dentist or anything, I would put my money, because I know you don't have money coming out your ears and want to get. But what people are doing today is they buy a website and they don't take care of this. And when you put $10,000 into a website, you might as well put $10,000 into putting a fluorescent billboard in the middle of the rainforest, because if no one can find it, it is useless. But if you put your money and your resources into making sure your digital footprint, that I show up on Google, that I have a good rating, that I have all this, then do the website, because now people can find you and now you want to deliver your message. These are things that I covered that all can boost your online marketing. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. If you have a website that doesn't deliver your information, and when I say, so what a website is a content delivery system. That's what a website is. People are going there, you have content there, and you're trying to deliver it to the consumer. You should deliver that content in the way they prefer to receive it. That's step one. I know it's a sad thing to say, but I'm going to tell you, we live in a world now where everybody's attention span is minute, and people will read the headline and never the article. Do you hear what I said? They'll read the headline, and they're not going near that article. Too much words there. I'm out. So you have to be able to deliver your message of who you are, what you do, why you do it, in the way they want to receive it. That makes sense. You should have an SEO and AEO strategy, not just doing things just to do them because someone said you need to do them. It should truly be a strategy, because when somebody finds you, and this is what a good digital marketing, whether you work with us or you work with anyone else, this is what a good digital marketing strategy. You got to be found. You got to be chosen. And you have to deliver your message the way they want to receive it. And if you can do those three things effectively, you are going to win. You will win 9 out of 10 times. It's the example I give. If you went and opened a branch in Tokyo, Japan, and even if you were the best, but you couldn't speak Japanese, you're not going to do well there. But if you were Japanese and you moved to America to a Japanese neighborhood, you could be you don't have to be the best, but if you could speak their language, you're going to get all the business. It's about being able to communicate the way your audience wants to communicate. I've been in dental offices, I've been in landscaping office, and I've been in where the owner goes, I don't like any of that internet view. I don't watch any of it. That's all garbage. And I go, that's fine. You don't have to watch it. You're not trying to sell landscaping to yourself, are you? It's not about what you like. You have to be alive and know that everybody else is doing this. And if you want to reach them, then you should be doing it. It's not about you. It is about your audience. Making sure your Google business information is up to date. And I want to tell you something. This is a never-ending job. So a lot of practices, they go, oh, here's Mary, she's my in-house, or here's my buddy Mike, he's my in-house digital. I am telling you, I don't care how good you are, how great you are, one person cannot do this. It is impossible unless you didn't sleep and you worked 24 hours a day and never took a vacation. Even then it would be difficult. One person cannot do this. It requires a team of specialists, web specialists, videographers, script writers. It requires social media experts. For all of this to be done correctly, it requires a team. One person cannot do this. That is a fact. Updating your website and blogs and keeping things relevant, extremely important. I hope I did a good job, and I hope you all had some takeaways or learned some things that are going to be beneficial to all of you. Thank you.